reinvention of yourself in the future of sales. Things won't change as much as they will accelerate. And while other crises shape the future, COVID-19 is just making the future happen faster. And I think that's such an important thing to keep in mind, is because the future of sales is not something that we're sort of predict is going to happen. It's something that's actually happening right now. So we're going to talk about what's going to happen in the next 12 to 18 months in terms of the future, because things are changing in real time. I mean, we're all trying to deal with the COVID-19 crisis and what that's meant for our businesses and our customers. Now we're all working from home, working remotely, and it's changed a lot of the interactions we normally would have with buyers. And following that, coming on the heels of that, is going to be an economic recession, where again the challenge becomes for us, sort of in real time, is how do we find the opportunities for us to do business. And I'm going to give you 5 recommendations that sort of have you focus on how do you reinvent the things that you're doing in sales in order to find those opportunities in this near-term future that is so very different than anything that we've been experiencing to date. So the first recommendation is to focus on what I call speed to outcome. This is really the buyer's new focus, which is, they may have been looking at some really large transformation projects. You've been talking to your prospects about, digital transformation or some corporate-wide initiative. But in this time when there's so much uncertainty economically and, just as I said, the way we structure our work, is their new focus is on what are the problems we can solve now? What are the most urgent problems we can have solve now that are aligned with our strategic initiatives as a company, but have urgency, and most importantly, provide a quick payback. So you find that instead of the big projects, your challenge now is to find the problems that need to be solved immediately. And on top of that, that offer a quick payback with a relatively low perceived risk on the part of the buyer. So if they're looking at a big transformation, let's say digital transformation project, then the challenge says, well, what portion of that is most urgent? What needs to be fixed right now? There are always opportunities. You just have to be able to identify what those are. Now, the key thing along with that is trying to find these discrete problems that you can fix, is the buyer doesn't really have time to waste in their buying journey. More than ever, what buyers are trying to do is they're trying to quickly gather information to make a good decision with the least investment of time and money. And this is what motivates your buyers in this environment that we're in today. And so that has an impact on their buying experience and your role in that. This is based on a survey they did 2 years ago, research they did 2 years ago, identifying the B2B buying journey. You can see it's a very complex layout here. And it's not this linear stage-based process that many sales teams follow. And you look in the dark blue boxes, there are 4 jobs that your buyers are trying to accomplish. They're trying to identify their problem, explore potential solutions, develop their options, build the requirements, and finally choose their supplier. Well, the problem is most sellers want to focus on that box in the red, the last problem, which is, I want to be the vendor that's chosen. I want to be the supplier that's chosen. And what they do is that, and if you're focusing on that, you're just focusing on selling your features, you're selling your price, you're selling delivery. And where the buyer really needs help at this time is understanding the problem they can solve that has low risk, explore what their choices or their options are for solving that problem, and then choose the option that they want to have vendors bid on. And that's what happens in these 3 boxes here. So progressive sellers, future-based sellers, that's where you focus your efforts, because that's where you can provide the most value to your buyers, to your prospect. So the key to doing that is that you need to make sure that you're in a position to deliver good value to your buyers at each step of their buying journey. In today's world, value is progress, meaning, quite simply, is the result of every sales interaction has to be this, that the buyer, as a result of you talking with them or communicating with them, is closer to making their decision than they were before that interaction. So it doesn't matter whether it's an email, a voicemail, a video chat, in-person meeting, a phone call. You're asking the customer to invest some of their time, because you got to give them something of value in return for that. And that value is that they've made progress towards solving this urgent issue. Now, in order to make that happen, you need to focus on enabling your business acumen. And this is a place perhaps where sellers fail the most. A survey is done showing that 80% of CEOs found no value of their interaction with salespeople because they didn't understand the business the customer is in. They didn't understand business in general. That's your business acumen. So Everybody has a sales expiration date, just like on a food product, they put dates best if used by. Well, if you're not continually learning and expanding your understanding of your customers and their products and their business and their markets, then you have a chance of becoming an, an out of date salesperson. The goal is you as an individual and as an organization is to enable your sellers with the acumen to have knowledge based sales interactions that have value to your buyers, that help your buyers make progress in their buying process. Business acumen for sales is not about knowing all the answers. It's about knowing which questions to ask based on the situation and when to ask them. So to make sure you understand these things we talked about, you have to understand how your customers use their products and services to make a profit. Too often I talk with sellers, they just don't understand this connection. They invest in your product or services for a reason. That is ultimately to make more money. How does that happen? Where do you fit in that chain? How do your customers make money? And do you understand what's really happening in your customers' markets? In order to do this, you have to put the buyer first. So we're sort of starting macro level, coming down to more micro concerns. And in this day and age, you have to think about serving, not selling. You have to be there to say, how can I help you? Right? Just first answer is not a pitch, or first interaction is not a pitch. It's how can I help you? And you have to be able to come across in a very authentic fashion with this. The customer has to believe that you're there to do that. And so think about don't pitching, ask questions instead. I call this ask, don't tell. Don't pitch, ask a question. Extend your curiosity, ask an extra question. Focus on the relationships that you have with your buyers. Because at the end of the day, the decision the buyer makes, their buying experience is largely dependent on their interaction with you. You are extremely important. You are perhaps one of the most decisive factors in your buyer's decision-making process about which vendor to select. So the question every vendor is asking about is why you? Why should I trust you? So in order to do that, you need to continue to deepen your understanding of your buyers and their situation that they're in. You need to make sure that you're building the requisite trust that at the end of the day enables the buyer to say, look, we have this urgent problem that needs to be fixed. We can't afford to make a mistake in these times, in terms of choosing the right vendor and the right solution. Is this the person? Is this the company that we can trust to help us get that quick payback in the shortest time possible? The future isn't something out beyond 12 to 18 months. That's happening right now. You want to focus on speed to outcome. Identify those opportunities in your buyers that enable them to recognize the payback as quickly as possible. And these have to be aligned with their strategic initiatives and have to have this urgency to fix. Make sure that you focus on optimizing the buying experience by delivering good value every interaction, every step of the buying process. And to be able to do that, enable your acumen. Learn more about your customers. Make sure you understand what's happening in their markets. Be prepared to ask the extra question and always put your buyer first.